Welcome to this marketing short on customer experience with Dr. Harvey. Today we are talking about this idea of customer experience, also for short CX. You see CX everywhere, anywhere. That typically stands for customer experience. What is the customer experience? What does that mean? Well, the customer experience is definitely a strategically important concept. It's something that's important for us to know about as marketers, for a company to really understand. And as we think about the customer experience, we need to know that this is a really multi-dimensional concept. Here we're capturing a customer's cognitive responses, their emotional responses, their behavioral responses, their sensorial responses, and their social responses to a firm's offerings and activities throughout their customer journey. So if you're curious about the customer journey, we went over that in a previous marketing short that will be linked to this video as well. So all of these different responses are so important for the customer and for us to fully understand as a company. We really not only need to know how these experiences combine to form an overall impression of the customer's experience, but we also need to understand what matters most to our target customers. Why? Because everyone's experience will be slightly different. How they respond in all of these different dimensions will be different and vary by individual customer. But we need to look at our target market, right? Those customers that are most important to us, and get a general sense of what is most important to those customers. How is it that we can best serve the customer experience for our target market as a whole? Now, customer experience used to be thought of as really just the concern of service businesses. And certainly, the customer experience is of the utmost importance for service businesses because it's an integral part of what the customer is getting and what the customer is expecting. So, for example, a service company like an airline may provide the basic service of a flight, but what may set their customer experience apart from other airlines could be their customer experience of upgrades to the flight, or the processes that they put in place, the attitudes, and how the flight attendants respond to concerns, or just simply act consistently over time. The ability to anticipate their customers' needs, all of those sorts of things add to the customer experience and can be really important for those service companies. However, lots of product companies are now trying to use their customer experiences to help them differentiate from other product companies as well. And a good example would be Sephora, a product company, a retailer that sells makeup. They try to curate an experience to complement their core product offering, an experience that complements the makeup products that they sell, by having many opportunities within their retail stores to try the products. They have fancy lighting, and they have experts who will give them advice and help them select colors and select different products. They can request different samples, and all of these sorts of experiences combine to create that customer experience for a product company. Okay. So ultimately, the customer experience is important for both service product companies and product-based companies. A great customer service experience can help companies differentiate themselves from competitors. It can help them resist imitation attempts from competitors. It adds value to their core products and services and builds a memorable brand. Now, Can you think of a company that provides an excellent customer experience consistently, a customer experience that differentiates the company from its competitors? I'll give you a moment. As you're thinking about an example of an excellent customer experience, let's start thinking about this idea of touch points. Consider going through the drive-thru at your favorite fast food restaurant. What are all of the touch points associated with this customer experience instance? What are all the moments in time that you interact with that company as you go through the drive-thru experience? It may in fact start much before you actually get to the restaurant. Perhaps you have an app. Okay? When I think of an excellent customer service experience, the thing that comes to mind first is Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A has an excellent customer experience every time. And when I think about the touch points where I experience and interact with the brand, this could be on social media, through their actual just general organic posts. These could be paid ads on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube is where I often see ads for Chick-fil-A. Okay? And sometimes they're really simple, just showing the product. Then you have the app, which is an excellently, really well put together app, makes things very simple for the customer. Right? It's a very simple experience, helps the customer create their order quickly and efficiently. And then you get to the drive-through lane, right? And frequently you have the employees with the tablets who come out and meet you at your car, double check your order, take your order if you weren't using the app, and then you get to the window, and you get the actual food. You may get an email later or an alert from the app asking you about your experience. So lots of different touch points where you're interacting with the company. These touch points, when we think of them, when we think about our touch points, we can really consider these as we start to analyze the customer journey. We can look at touch points that are controlled by us as the brand or the partners. And there are 3 critical clues that relate to the touch points. The first are the functional clues. These are related to the core features of a product or service. So this could be that Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets are consistent every single time you get them. They're the same size, they taste the same, they're uniform, they have consistent functional cues. It could be humanic clues. These are the cues that come from the behavior and appearance of the other people involved in our customer journey. In the case of Chick-fil-A, we would have the friendly Chick-fil-A employees who are seen usually to pretty consistently to be happy to be at their job, are friendly, and always respond with "my pleasure" when you say thank you. Rarely are they hurried or distracted, and rarely do they impact our experience as a customer in a negative way. And then finally, we have the mechanic cues. These are the physical and sensory experiences involved in the customer journey. This could be the light, the sounds, the smells, etc. And making sure that from a company perspective, from a marketer perspective, making sure that those are consistent and manipulated in a way that positively impacts the customer journey can be really important. This could be music, it could be lighting, it could be the scent of a store. We can really impact customers through those humanic clues. Okay. For Chick-fil-A, that could be the smell of the cooking. It could be that the dining room is always clean. It could be that even though there's a line at the drive-thru, almost always, that the queue is well managed and moves consistently. Those are the mechanic cues. Okay, so that's really those are our touch points that are controlled by the brand. Then we have touch points that are controlled by the customer. In this way, we have customers who are fundamentally co-creators of the experience, okay? And probably the most critical thing that customers bring to the table in terms of touch points being controlled by them are their expectations. And in order to consider customers' expectations, we need to think of two general questions. First, what is the standard for the brand's performance? Right? With Chick-fil-A, we expect things to be reasonably quick. We expect the employees to be friendly. We expect our order to be right. And we expect it to be pretty consistently. With that being the case, that also means that if there's a poor experience, that can more dramatically impact a customer's journey than if the customer was going to some other fast food restaurant where they didn't have those same kinds of expectations. One thing that Chick-fil-A does really well is that they make it very easy for customers to provide feedback on their experience through their app. A lot of companies, it seems, don't always encourage feedback, but Chick-fil-A makes that really easy. And so even if the customer has a poor experience, Chick-fil-A makes it so that the customer feels like they can air their concerns, and it makes them feel as if Chick-fil-A truly cares about the concerns the customer might have. The second question we can ask about customer expectations is, what dimensions do customers expect the firm will do well on, and what dimensions are they most likely to ignore? So why do we need to know this? Here, this is important because brands can focus our resources and our investments and our improvements in those areas that customers care about. And then we can utilize those areas that our customers are going to ignore. It doesn't mean that we entirely ignore them, but it means that we don't need to invest the same kind of resources in them. Aside from expectations and preferences, when customers act like co-creators, they can do so in more concrete ways, like different companies who ask their customers to help them come up with new recipes, to help come up with recipes or ideas to help improve the customer experience. This can be really helpful when there's a lot of uncertainty about what the customer preferences are, and also if you have a small firm with a limited budget who want to, when that firm wants to innovate their customer experience and improve on that. And then finally, we have touch points that are controlled by social or external sources. And this could just be things like the person standing in line next to you, getting cut off on your way into the Chick-fil-A drive-thru, the cold weather, a kid kicking your seat behind you, whatever it is. Things that are not controlled by the customer and not controlled by the company. Unfortunately, they're not controlled by us as the firm, but we may be able to identify some of those to at least address if we need to. So that may be that when it's cold outside, we flip our sign around that advertises our warm drinks, and helps customers feel like those touch points and those pain points can be solved by our products or services. So finally, we really do need to analyze our customers' journeys so that we are considering both particular and individual touch points and different types of touch points, but also understanding the customer journey in a more holistic way, mapping it from beginning to end, so that we are looking at improving individual points in time and also improving the overall experience. The two rules of thumb that companies can keep in mind as we're thinking about understanding the weight that customers place on each touch point and how each touch point impacts the overall are these. First, that customers enjoy experiences that improve over time, more so than experiences that get worse over time, which would be obvious, or even more so than those experiences that plateau. As the experience plateaus, even if it's positive, it sort of loses its zeal, if you will. And finally, the customer's evaluations and memories and experience are subject to this idea of a peak end bias. Okay? What does that mean? It means that overall satisfaction is affected most by the peak of the experience, the most intensely enjoyable or most painful moment along the way. And at the end of the experience, this could impact the entire journey, even if it was at the beginning or towards the end, wherever, no matter where it happened in the journey, that peak can bias the overall satisfaction with the journey from the customer's perspective. So as we consider analyzing that full customer journey, it's important for us to maintain a customer focus, utilize the analysis to help us improve. And as we map the journey, we can create an inventory of touch points. We can look at the touch points that are most important